All right, everybody, what's up? Welcome to your reading for the new moon in Gemini occurring on the 30th of May, which is a Monday, and it'll be Tuesday for those of you in the Southern Hemisphere. In terms of energy forecast, I have been getting these downloads for the past few days. Gemini is, yes, they're the twins, but this sign is communication at its finest. If you can imagine a court of jesters and knights and ladies and quiet advisors and all of these, Gemini is the one wielding the sword of language. It's really a very heady sign, very mental, and that can also bring forth a lot of intensity in the mind, a lot of busyness, a lot of ideas. And what's really coming through as a bigger sign, I'm almost getting too much information to be able to communicate this individually as it needs to go. But in order to assimilate and really use this energy without it feeling overwhelming or without it feeling really scattered and really frazzled, is this pairing with letting go and letting go of control, especially letting go of trying to orchestrate or to really, choose your vein very specifically. Because as you're assimilating all this new information and all of this language and all of this, these downloads, information is really what keeps coming through. But as you continue to assimilate all of this information, you need to allow for the eradication of the old scripts and the old mental scripts, the old mental schemas, and, script patterning, script language, sort of word creation and structures created by words and thoughts and beliefs. All of this realm is really being cleared out right now. And we've just gone through a lunar eclipse, and Mercury is in retrograde, and Gemini is ruled by the planet of Mercury. And so we're getting this really intense example of Gemini in the new moon and in the Gemini season in general. We've shifted right out of Taurus, which is very grounding, very slow, very nurturing, very much about nesting and creating your space. And Gemini is, how do we communicate our new ideas? How do we connect to the right people? How do we implement all of our plans? And on top of that, integrate more information that's coming through to us, almost all in the same breath. And so letting go of trying to control the direction, trying to control the future, this is the big one. COVID, people are trying to, as a collective, we're trying to stamp COVID as a moment in time, that it happened, it's over, or it's ending, and now we're moving back to normalcy. And that is just simply not true. These are formidable times for us to be alive. The time that we are here on this planet is evolutionary in nature. It is changing in nature. And so a download that I got early this morning was about this idea that we can hold on to a really beautiful experience that we've had and try and recreate it is only going to cause us mental and spiritual and emotional anguish. But if we can drop into our experience, and even, if you want to include the mind in these joyful experiences, pairing the positive experiences you're having with joyful thoughts. Wow, I'm really appreciating this. Wow, I feel really grateful that this is happening. Wow, this feels really good. Pairing language with the experience so that you have a bank of memory of good things to fall back on, instead of trying to recreate the same conditions for the same type of positive experience over and over again. As humans, we really try to control our outcomes, and we really try to control our future. And with Gemini, there's just too much coming in for that to even be possible. So take it off your plate. Take it off your consideration that you're even trying to control everything, and there's a skill in DBT, which is a type of therapy framework, dialectical behavioral therapy, and the practice is called opposite action. And so when you would normally do, when you normally lean away from something, you're meant to lean into it. And so in this Gemini season, the more you want to control, the more you want to orchestrate, the more you want to pair and make particular, can you lean into the unraveling and the amazing release? How good does it feel to have things just let go, like you're dropping a yo-yo or you're dropping a ball of yarn and just letting it unravel? There have been a lot of messages recently about letting go of who you believed you were in order to become who you are. And with Gemini, back to that mental script, all of this information is coming to you and all of these downloads are coming to you so that you can erase a lot of the patterning and the beliefs that are no longer serving you. Gemini season gives you the opportunity to, if you're willing and if you're willing to let go, to erase a lot of that information or a lot of those old files that are stored in your mind that simply are no longer useful. But it's going to take some opposite action, and it's going to take you leaning into the letting go, allowing yourself to feel a little bit more loose, allowing yourself to feel a little bit more yin, a little bit more receptive, a little bit less orchestrative, in order for all of the information and the integrations to come in. Gemini is dual in nature, highly organized, but also highly conflictual. And so, or conflicting. So allowing that opposite belief or that opposite action of letting go of a bit of control so that you can allow the power of Gemini to do the organization for you is going to allow you to move through this season with a lot more relief and a lot less mental anguish. Because if you try to control the information or you try to control the way that things are going in terms of changes and beliefs and vision and really judgments and opinions, it's going to feel like you're just filling up the wastebasket of your mind, and it's going to feel really, really overwhelming. And so if you do find yourself caught in a moment where you're quite high up and you're quite mental and you can't really bring yourself down, one of the biggest practices for the collective moving forwards is going to be bringing in the integration of the body with our mental thoughts. Some of us, especially those who practice yoga or breath work or any sort of, flow state practice, might say, yeah, I know how to do that. I do it when I'm, practicing Taekwondo or whatever. But bringing that practice into your day-to-day life. Is my mind really busy? How is my body feeling? Am I tensing up? Am I allowing my breath to move through smoothly? Am I connected in my body and my mind, or am I letting my mind run the show? And so with Gemini being a naturally heady sign and a naturally cerebral sign, how much can you connect the integration between the mental and the physical, especially for this new moon? Because that's going to give you a new type of superpower that you didn't even realize that you had. And speaking of language and downloads, I haven't even drawn a card yet because all this stuff has been coming in all morning, and so I just needed to share before we added any visuals. Staying with feeling is another thing that has been coming through quite strongly. So despite all of the mental runnings and the information that's running through your mind, staying with a particular feeling instead of being reactive, instead of trying to move away from a feeling or move around a feeling, that's something that Taurus really teaches us, is can we stay with this feeling and stay through it, especially when it comes to emotions. Most emotions really only last physiologically and psychologically about 30 seconds, but we hold on to them because we usually don't let ourselves go through them fully in the first place. So that's just another thing that's coming up. Alrighty here. Here we go. Yeah, okay, so I mean this has been reflected to me in my personal life recently, and I often find as a reader that my personal reflection is a good reminder of or a good mirror of what's going on in the whole. You know, that's true for most people. What's going on in your life is a bit greater reflection of your beliefs and the general energies at large. And so the Sage card is asking you to come back to your why of something that you started either in April or in early May. Maybe you got really motivated by something and you said yes and you bought the gear for it, or you started the book, or you decided to start tracking your finances, or whatever it is. And then, boom, now we're sort of into summer like feeling energies, and it's really easy to drop everything and to let something that was sort of became a habit totally go because it wasn't really in your practice all the time. And so a big thing for a lot of us with this card is going to be about respectfully acknowledging our own boundaries and respectfully saying no to others when it comes to social engagements, events that are going on, things that require your energy. Maybe you would be a really great volunteer for this particular thing that you're particularly good at, but do you really have the space for it? And so taking that time to pause before you keep saying yes, or even to politely and respectfully withdraw and say, actually, you know what? I don't really have the space for this. And bringing yourself back down to the simplest version of what works for you. Because I assure you, by the time we get to Leo season, things are going to be moving so fast and so incredibly energetically that if you've kept things relatively simple now, that energy is going to make you feel like you're flying. But if you overcomplicate too soon, you're just going to feel really overwhelmed. You're going to spin out and you're going to feel burnt out, and you're not going to feel like you've been able to satisfy what you're able to put out in the world or really express yourself fully in that way. And so take a second, take a time out. Maybe that means taking a weekend day that you said you were going to do yard work and you're actually not going to do anything. Give yourself that time and space for some silence. And it's funny, when I say not doing anything, I don't mean watching Netflix all day. I mean allowing yourself to be quiet and go for a walk or go somewhere that's quiet if you live in an urban center. Spend some time looking at your houseplants if you don't want to go anywhere and you live in an urban center. But really get back down to the bare necessities of what works for you, because this will really solidify this really beautiful foundation that a lot of you started in Taurus season, and will allow you to move forwards with grace and with finesse instead of with overwhelm and with anxiety. So return to simplicity and return to your why. A lot of you are also going to be experiencing changes in the body, especially when it comes to timing. Waking up earlier or sleeping in later, depending on how you've been living your life. Don't be surprised by these changes. Maybe you're someone who's defined themselves as a morning person, and all of a sudden you're waking up at 8 every day and it feels like you've slept in, or you've defined yourself as a night owl and you find yourself wanting to go to bed at 11 or 10. Allow yourself to experience that. We're humans, we're constantly changing, we're constantly moving in different types of cycles, but there's also so much change going on in the general collective weaving of what we believe to be our reality, that you have to allow yourself for that change. It could be a really big change. Maybe it's something that you've been really devoted to in your shifting your focus, or maybe it is, really it's coming back to routines and timing. Don't pigeonhole yourself so much into, oh, I'm always like this, and I've always been like this, or this is how I normally am. A lot of us are changing the fabrics of who we are quite deeply and quite significantly. And so the more you allow space for that, the easier the transition is going to be. And, haven't you always wanted to be the best version of yourself? And maybe this is part of that path. Gemini, so precise with the cards. Don't pick this one, pick this one. Yeah, that's funny. Okay, so this is the card that we pulled. And if you look closely, there's actually, the bowl is right there. And the yarn is right there. And I pulled this card in reverse. And so this is very much about the duality. And, Gemini loves a game. Gemini loves to play. They love a good game. They love a good intellectual challenge, a good sort of intellectual joust. And so be mindful of where you're engaging with paths that lead to nowhere, or sort of caucus races of things going in circles, and where your mind is becoming more like a tangled fishing net or a tangled ball of yarn. And where can you allow that simplicity to come back and reverse this spiral and, all of this weaving? Where can you see that as a potential game, and maybe not something as so impactful in your life? We have challenges, we have mental hurdles that we go through, we have moments in our life that seem challenging, and it can be really easy to zoom in on the fact that doesn't seem to be letting up, and it just seems to be piling up. And so this card is asking us to let go of the way that we have framed this particular situation, or the way that we have framed our particular understanding of how complicated something really is. This is basically shouting from the rooftops that transition from Taurus season into the sort of spiraling weaving of Gemini season. And in reverse, we're being asked to make light of that. Turn it on its head. Does it have to be so serious, or is this something that you have decided is serious? A lot of that, you talk to people who seem really happy, or they seem to have it all together, and something that comes up a lot is choice. There's always justification out there for, yes, this is hard. Yes, this sucks. Yes, this seems impossible. Yes, this is totally valid that it's really challenging. All of that evidence is always there. But it's the choice to direct your energy towards that really makes the difference. And so, can you choose to take the intensity away from the details of how complicated things are? And can you choose to move your energy to the game that it's asking you to play? Life is a visit on Earth, and it's really not meant to be, yes, there are moments that are heavy, and yes, there are moments that are serious or focused, but it doesn't have to be like that all the time. And so, can you remind yourself that you are the person in control, and you are the person who tips the scales? And ask yourself, where can you bring in a little bit more of a sense of game playing and joy, and sort of, jumping from rock to rock over the lava, instead of staring at the lava and letting it overwhelm you. So that is all I have for you for the new moon in Gemini. If you would like to do a private reading with me, please drop me a message in Instagram or a comment on YouTube. Please like, share, and subscribe this video. I did do a new healing meditation with amethyst, especially for star seeds, especially for new souls, especially for empaths. So please check that out on my YouTube or in my bio on Instagram. And if you would like to support my work, I have dropped my PayPal link in the description box below and in the description on Instagram. That just allows me to feel supported in what I'm doing and to keep putting videos out, and eventually to be doing this much more and on a much larger scale, and to continue to share the downloads that I'm receiving for you. Take care and blessings. Happy Gemini season.